Hey, it's good to be back in the rig, going down the road with you. A lot of things we've got to cover today. Once again, that's right, we're going to have former Congressman Earl Pomeroy on. The big evacuation, excavation, whatever you want to call it, in Afghanistan. How's it going? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Are we doing anything right? Well, in my personal opinion, we're getting out of Afghanistan. So that's something, right? But we'll talk to Earl Pomeroy about that. Also, we're going to get a chance to visit with Dr. Doug Griffin. Now, Dr. Griffin is Vice President, the Sanford Health Vice President and Medical Officer, and good enough to share his time with us. Dr. Griffin, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Want to talk a little bit, if we can, obviously in the beginning about boosters. You're going to be probably not amazed about this, but last night I'm sitting in a shop with two Klosterman brothers having a beer in Morton, North Dakota, and we ended up talking, get this, a couple of farmers dealing with new grain bends and getting a crop off the field and everything. Actually, we were talking about sweet corn, but we ended up talking about boosters for the vaccine. Both of these guys wanted to know if they should get a booster shot. One of them had Johnson & Johnson, the other had, a different variety, the one that I had. The one with an M. How's that,
Yeah,
Dr.
Moderna.
Yeah, Moderna. So explain to me whether or not we all need a booster, Doctor.
Yeah, so very good question, kind of a little bit complicated. First of all, I'll take the easy one right now on the Klosterman brother that had the Johnson & Johnson. Right now, there's no recommendation for a booster yet for those that have had the Johnson & Johnson. Just because it's came out a little bit later, and then so the data is a little bit slower to come on that one. There is pretty clear evidence that people that are immunocompromised, so that would be people that have had like undergoing cancer treatment, transplant patients and survivors, and then many other conditions that compromise somebody's immune system. There was a recommendation that came out a little more than a week ago that they should receive a booster vaccine if you had had either the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines. We call those the messenger RNA vaccines based on the style in which they were manufactured. And now today, the federal government, as was expected, has recommended booster shots 8 months after the second dose of the COVID vaccine, one of those two that I just mentioned. And they're going to prioritize, just like they did in the initial rollout, healthcare workers and residents of nursing homes or skilled nursing facilities. The data on that is not as well clear. And the 8 months, to be honest, is a little bit, I don't want to say arbitrary, but it's kind of a judgment call. When is the right time? We are seeing some evidence of waning immunity, but the question is, why are we seeing evidence of waning immunity? Is it the fact that the immunity is wearing off? Is it the fact that we've taken less precautions, and could it be the Delta factor? Probably all three factors combined, the Delta variant, I should say.
Dr. Griffin, one of the individuals that I was visiting with last night, to continue to use them as an example, had Johnson & Johnson, and he didn't think he did the right move by having that because of everything that he had heard about it since then. The other that had Moderna, they had rung the bell. That individual had gone through cancer treatment, and we're all smiling because he's doing fine. But he fits into the category you just described. What would your recommendation to him be? I'm pretty sure he got vaccinated right in the spring because of his condition when he was able to. What would you tell him to do?
Yeah, I would recommend he contact his provider or provides his cancer care or primary care clinician and to validate, hey, am I one of the people that should be getting this? And then make arrangements. If he is, make arrangements, and they would help him get the booster. Availability is much better now, so he should be able to get that done.
So we talk about availability. In the beginning, we were all sitting there crossing our fingers, at least everybody with a brain, There's my bias. I'll leave you out of that conversation. At least everybody that realized how great the vaccine was going to be for those of us, and we were all just hoping to get it. When's my turn going to come? There were individuals that I thought were pretty bright. They were going by, the drugstore and stopping in saying, here's my phone number, call me if you're long on vaccine by the end of the day. And that was working for some people, and good. It wasn't going wasted. But, are we going to be able to just schedule it, to call the doctor? Doctor says, you bet, get in here. Are we going to have to schedule this a month out type of a thing?
No, I think you'll be able to schedule it much quicker than that. I anticipate as we just now got we've been preparing or anticipating the announcement on boosters. So that'll be, could be a large demand. We hope it's a large demand. So us and others will need to figure out and anticipate. So I anticipate we'll see more. And they said September 20th is when this would begin. So I think you'll see more planning for some more widespread walk-in clinics for booster shots. So I think you'll see that. Right now, you can pretty much go, I know, to most primary care clinics. And if you're there and you say, hey, I'd like to get my COVID vaccine, you could do it right at your clinic appointment or make an appointment just for the vaccine alone. And I want to emphasize, we're talking about boosters, and that's great. Really, we need to keep pushing those people that are not yet vaccinated. That I think there's more bang in the buck for getting more people overall vaccinated than proceeding with the boosters. Well, absolutely, that's important, but I think we can't take our eye off, I think, the significance of getting more people vaccinated overall.
I think you and I both agree on that. We're going to get back to that in just a second, but is this booster going to be part of our life now? And let me give you what I'm getting at. It doesn't bother me one bit to roll up my sleeve and get my flu shot. And I know that you cringe just like I cringe when flu and COVID are mentioned in the same sentence, because the people that want to compare those two to each other to justify not being vaccinated are really not being fair. But that being said, I do get a flu shot every year. It's just part of my routine. Is this going to be part of my routine?
Yeah, it's unclear yet. I think a lot of it will depend on the direction of the pandemic, how many more variants develop, and so it's right now it's a bit unclear. I wish we had, and there's been many things that have been unclear, and we'll know over time. But I don't think we're ready to say that yet. But I suppose that could be a possibility. But it just I don't think. Unless there's somebody far smarter than I that knows the answer, I don't think overall we know the answer to that.
Well, if you can't tell me, I'm not going to win that argument because, quite frankly, you did better in school than what I did. When you go back to bang for the buck and you talk about what the best thing that we can do is, which is get people vaccinated, we've seemed to have hit the wall. Let me give you another example of someone that I met. Over the weekend, I was down in the Twin Cities going to a Twins game. I'm walking down, and me and the missus stopped in to have a beer before the game. And there was a lady that waited on us, and she was talking about the vaccine. And I said, have you been vaccinated? And she said, no. And I said, well, why not? And she said, well, Food and Drug Administration hasn't come out with it being okay yet. So I beg of you, what's the answer there? When does the Food and Drug Administration, in my opinion, get off their butt and quit allowing people that excuse?
Yeah, so a couple of things to clarify there. So it has not received the full FDA approval, but it does have the Food and Drug Administration's authorization on safety and efficacy based on the emergency use authorization. And we use that because of the pandemic. I do expect that in September, which is not that long, we'll probably see the full FDA approval. That's kind of what I'm hearing. And I think I hope that will help. I'm a little bit skeptical. I think some people may be just using that as just one of the many excuses. But I think it may drive some more mandates by employers. I think will drive more people to getting vaccines. And that's where we've gotten. We've gotten into a time where a lot of organizations, including ours, are mandating the vaccine. I think so. But it's something we have. I agree. Hit a wall. We've had a little bit of increased movement in vaccine uptake in the last few weeks, but we need to go a lot quicker.
So I go back to the individual I spoke to in Minneapolis. I looked at her after she said the Food and Drug Administration, and I said, when they give their full approval. And I told her, I used the word emergency too, that's the reason I'm vaccinated, was because it was approved by Food and Drug Administration, but it wasn't worth the full debate. I knew I was going to get into that with her. I said, once that full approval comes, will you get vaccinated? And she went, I don't think I will. Now, the interesting part in that story, which doesn't have any effect on you, but it's interesting, is if you could have seen her lips, Doc, she had had more Botox injections in the last, couple weeks. So, I mean, how do you make that argument? How do you sit down unless you force them to, like Sanford has, which is, if you want to work here, you've got to get vaccinated. Don't we all just get to the point where we have to do that?
Yeah, I think it's getting frustrated. I think you made a good point with that. I think we're in a time of period, and you're well aware of this, that people are not really trusting the government and the FDA. So even if the FDA approval comes there, I'm not sure that's good enough. But a lot of people have more trust in their doctor or their clinician. So I'd urge people, go talk to your doctor, talk to your clinician, somebody you respect, and feel like you can get what you would think is straight talk. So I think people have to have a conversation with somebody's opinion that they respect and value. I think a lot of times that is a clinician or a physician that they know versus a government or a large organization telling them to get the vaccine.
Well, that's the way to end it. Dr. Griffin, great advice. Thanks for what you're doing. Keep fighting the good fight. Let's get as many people vaccinated as what we can. I got grandkids, and it's clear that younger people now are coming down with this as well. So, Doctor,
you're welcome. Thanks for your promotion of it, Joel.
You bet. We'll keep doing that. When we come back, former Congressman Earl Pomeroy. We'll talk to him about Afghanistan right after this.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a Pomeroy that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness.
During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark. Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close. Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight. Just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Attention, have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Elmiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Elmiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
You know, the great thing about this rig that we're going down the road in is we get to invite a lot of wonderful people in it. Now, the man I'm going to bring in is a man that you voted for many, many times. And in my personal opinion, one of the best U.S. congressmen that there's been. And I'm not just saying that because he's a friend. I'm saying that because he got the job done. Let's talk to Earl Pomeroy. Former congressman, you know, it is good to have you coming down the road with us.
Joel, always good to be on your show, and thanks for the kind comments.
I want to talk to you about, obviously, what's going on in Afghanistan. First off, give me your take on the fact that we're pulling out of Afghanistan. We'll get into the debate about how it's being handled, but should we have been, do we need to and should we be pulling out of Afghanistan?
I think the American people overwhelmingly want us out. The president responded, I think, based on years of hearing from military leaders and establishing big plans that never seemed to amount to much in terms of a solidifying situation in Afghanistan. So I think he was out of patience that way. I also think, you know, when his son was deployed in Iraq, he had a family notion. He knew what this was doing to families. So I put all that behind his motivation. I think it couldn't have been more sincere. I think it was wrong. My wife and I have quite an ongoing debate about this as we watch the CNN coverage these days. My own opinion is you get yourself in some situations where you basically manage your commitment to the best possible degree. In this case, I believe just a few thousand soldiers could do an awful lot with air support and intelligence support to have preserved an operating room for some portion of Afghanistan to continue in a democracy and for the people who had helped us to be safe. You know, we kind of take our ball and go home approach. You can do that, but the cost to the United States across the world, as we look at the debacle unfolding in Afghanistan, people will think for years to come, what good is the word of the United States? They're going to come in, they're going to get impatient, they're going to get tired, they're going to go home. In the end, they mean well, but you can't trust them for the long haul. I think that's going to be a real detriment to our global reputation. It's going to take a while to overcome.
So let me play devil's advocate with that. And I think a lot of people agree with your argument. I think polls are just that, polls. But, you know, your wife and I might find ourselves agreeing far more. So if you grab the average American, you know, and this has been going on for 20 years. If you grab the average American and said, okay, what's our goal in Afghanistan? Why are we there? Could have they told us? Do you think that they know why we're there?
No, I think they couldn't have. That was part of the great big problem with the whole operation. I don't know that the Pentagon could have told us. So what does that mean? Well, again, but we were there. We were there for all the right reasons. They openly hosted the very people who were our nation's killers as they cooked up this scheme and took down the World Trade Center. Now, what I think we needed to do in terms of our long-term reduction in force, get our friends and allies out, you know, we didn't need to plan this by dates on a calendar. I think we needed to have a staged, careful operation, getting the job done. When the job's done, the job's done. not these kind of, we're going to have it done by X date, come hell or high water. And that approach has really left an awful lot of folks that fought shoulder to shoulder with our soldiers, who now face a horrible and undetermined future with them and their families, all because they stood for freedom, fought with the United States, and they trusted us. I just feel so incredibly badly about the debacle that's on the ground. I appreciate the view that we shouldn't be there forever, but I don't think a small, really small troop footprint keeping order was going to be too big a price for this nation to pay going forward.
So you talk about the price that we would pay going forward, and you talk about where we're at. Has the world changed in terms of being able to stomp out terroristic planning, people that will commit things to this country like they did on September 11th? I mean, if we would have talked about drone strikes, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people would have said, look, come on, you can't do that. But we have the capability to do so many more things with our military now than what we did before. Has the technology itself changed so that the need for being there is less?
My own opinion is in that region, it was very helpful having an area where you could stage your aircraft. So if the intelligence through the drones is picking up something out there, boom, you can respond. There are other nations, and the Pentagon has said we will be hosted by for other friendly neighbors. There's some very long flight times involved where you've got a stage now, and I think the ability to respond to terrorism quickly and immediately is reduced. But I want to be clear. We can't have forever wars. We can't be the world's policeman. We can't be everywhere all the time. And it's taken an incredible toll on our military. And I think about the North Dakota deployments that I went to when I was in Congress. I think about the funerals that I attended on behalf of the people of this state as their congressman, as we lost some of our own in this effort. And so this is not the place where we should be in great forward extension, trying to build a little mini United States in Afghanistan. I do think we were hopelessly naive about our ability to stand up a democracy in this part of the world. But that's a very different thing from having a tiny security footprint just to make certain that order is preserved relative to protecting our own interests going forward. Be that as it may, that's a debate that can unfold. I think we can all agree what's unfolding is a debacle. It reflects poorly on the president, poorly on the United States. It does not reflect poorly on our troops. They gave their all. But I really am almost distraught about the situation. We've left those that counted on us, and we just turn tail and run and leave them to a very uncertain future.
Congressman, after the break, we'll get a chance to talk about, our exodus and how it was handled. But, before that, when we sit here and we have that discussion about, our troops, we do have to ask our question of our military or of our foreign relations, of our ambassador, of our presidents, which is we had 20 years to train the Taliban, or not the Taliban, but the Afghanis to fight. They didn't fight. And so did we do our job, or should we just have expected this?
One of my trips to Afghanistan, a soldier pulled me aside and he said, Congressman, the key terrain in Afghanistan is the Afghan mind. And so, well, what do you mean by that? He said, this country has been overrun for centuries. And the people are going to keep, the survival instinct is they're going to keep their head down. They're going to stand with who they think is ultimately coming out on top. This is a crowd that knows no one wants to be the last man to die in a losing war. And so when the United States left, they felt like it was a done deal. The Taliban would be there, and they were not about to put up a fight for it. It was a disgrace, I think, for all the training and the dollars we've invested, the assets we've given them, to have a fairly modern army just completely collapse. It's outrageous, but it does reflect, I think, once they thought the United States is out, the Taliban is in, fight's over, and that's just how they respond.
When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the history, the imagery, what this means for elections, how it could be handled better, because we have them. That's right. Former Congressman Earl Pomeroy stays with us in our trek down the road.
From Lambeau Field to your living room. Catch all the Green Bay Packers preseason games exclusively on Beck Sports. Available on KRDK, KNDB, or KNDN TV. The Pack take on the Houston Texans August 14th, followed by the New York Jets August 21st, and end off the preseason with the Buffalo Bills August 28th. Check Beck.Sports to find more scheduling and local channel information.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after-hours oasis of sanity.
How can these people not see that they're just clowns?
We help simplify and educate you on things going on in the legislature and around the country.
Asking the hard-hitting questions.
But also having Lee Stack and Sid and Marty Croft stuff, and we've talked about that sometimes. It's bad.
Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
You know, the images of what's happening in Afghanistan at the airport and what's going to happen, could be even worse. Well, it is going to be worse on the streets, as the congressman pointed out. It's going to be brutal imagery. It's going to be just flat out the truth. The question is, how or can we fix it? And that's a question I have for former Congressman Earl Pomeroy. Is there something there that America can still do? I realize we're just days into this, but is there an action that we should be taking?
Yeah. First of all, the president indicated they expected a little bit of fight out of the people we've invested so heavily in and counted on, the Afghan army. The president flies away, doesn't even tell anybody he's leaving, and the route is on. So things collapsed much more quickly than most would have predicted. Now, I suppose if you do scenario planning, this is the worst case scenario, but most would never have felt this to fall like this. I'm watching the news like everybody else, and it looks like the Taliban is wanting to put a good first face forward. This is a different country that they're taking control of now than existed before. It's a different Taliban. We hope. We don't know for sure on that one yet. But what we I think should negotiate is, okay, Taliban, you want to show the world that you're a different place. We're going to run an evacuation plan. We're going to do so supported by several thousand U.S. troops, only to the point where we get our people out, then we're taking them out as well. Don't push us. Don't test us during this period of evacuation of our troops, our citizens, and our friends. We're going to conduct this operation. We'll have it wrapped up in pick a time and work with us on that. I believe those discussions are on now, Joel. And if they're productive discussions, I think we can bring some order to this horrible situation. If not, if they start testing American lives, we know we're going to respond. So they would be very well advised not to do that. I don't think they will do that, but no one knows right now. But there are ways we can put, I believe, a much more orderly exit than we saw in the last couple of days.
You know, in your time as a congressman, you had access to information that, you know, few of us ever going to have. Heck, you know, most of us are never, ever going to have. When you look at those individuals behind the scenes that had our back and that did everything they could to help us do what we were able to do in Afghanistan, what about them? Are we going to be able to get them out of this country? Because I don't believe one doggone thing the Taliban is saying in relation to how they're going to treat women and how they're going to treat the individuals that helped us. And so do you believe we're going to be able to go into their homes and say, all right, pack up your stuff, you're coming with us?
Clearly, we won't be able to do a comprehensive job of it. And friends of ours who've staked their lives on the reputation of the United States, some of them will have to pay for it with those lives. And I'm just sick about it. You know, when North Dakota Guardsmen befriended an Iraq family, and because of that friendship, the dad was shot, leaving a widow and 7 children. Our Guardsmen did everything to, working with my office, get that family out, and they've been in Fargo, they've grown up, they've contributed to our city, they've been a beautiful part of our community. Every soldier, I think, that had an Afghan partner that's now at risk has the same intense feeling that our soldiers had. We don't want to leave our friends behind. Some will be left behind, but I think tough negotiation with the Taliban now can still create an opportunity for the evacuation of thousands, many thousands. Now, in reality, we've got tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of friends. So are we bringing everybody out? Absolutely not. But I hope we can identify those that are most at risk and get them out. And I hope that the pressure we can bring to bear on the Taliban now in the next few days will produce a way to do that.
Let me lay out a scenario, one that you've been through hundreds of times in your time in Congress. You're sitting at the kitchen table of a veteran and their family. And that veteran is in a position now where they had served this country in Afghanistan, and they're seeing things happen as they're happening right now. And there's debates in the media, and there's debates in the halls of Congress over whether or not our goals were achieved. What do you say to that veteran's family? What do you say to that veteran?
Well, unequivocally, thank you for serving your country. Thank you for standing up and fighting for freedom as we understood that fight to be. Thank you for atoning, for making certain that the Taliban paid a price for hosting Osama bin Laden, resulting in the attack on the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, the plane crash in Pennsylvania, and the extraordinary lives lost 20 years ago, September 11th. You showed the best, most capable, you showed the world once again that we're the most capable fighting force in the world, but we have to expect more of the leadership of this fighting force to know what we're going to get into, what we're going to measure our goals by, and when we're going to get out with our goals accomplished. I think that was where it really fell apart. One commentator said this week, you know, you'll never find a group of generals say they don't need a little more time and a few more troops. And I really think that pretty well describes what we've been through for 20 years. So small wonder the president said, we've had enough of this. I fault the execution in evacuation. I think when you go from the kind of security role we've played there all these years to just turning and leaving absolutely fast, you really don't have time to have a good outcome at all. And this is a terrible outcome. There's no question about it.
I want to ask you about this because I know both of us are not some lackey, some stooge that is going to just toe a party line. We're going to look internally from our party and say, okay, let's evaluate what happened here. Joe Biden was the voice of evacuation for years. He was the one speaking as a vice president into Barack Obama's ear saying, we got to get out. Okay, then he went on a campaign and he said to the American people, if I get the keys to this car, if I go down the road, then by golly, we're going to get out. We're going to get out. Should this surprise anyone? And if that's the case, then if he had 8 years as vice president to look at whatever means we could use, to look at the intelligence of what we could do, and as president he has access to that same information, then what the heck went wrong, Earl? How did we get to the point where it just seems like we were uninformed? Because there had to be a strategy of if the Taliban moves this quickly.
Sure, you just have to wonder. Where was the planning? Time and time again, Joel, it seems like the kind of investment we make in having the best defense intelligence capability in the world. And then big things happen, we're caught completely by surprise, as we are here. But I think the execution raises a lot of questions, and it seems like it was driven by a date as opposed to driven by when things are accomplished. And if you stick to the date and the necessary preliminary steps have not been accomplished, you're setting yourself up for failure. And that's what's happened. Just for an example, there's this huge Air Force base just about 45 minutes out of Kabul called Bagram. We'd invested billions in making this huge Air Force base defensible and having all the capacity in the world. We could run evacuation out of there right now, except we gave it up and turned it over 3-4 weeks ago, and now we don't have that asset. We've got stuck with this puny little airport in the city that we can't even control. So these are the kinds of things where I believe questions must be asked and answered going forward. This didn't have to happen in this way. Those responsible should lose their present responsibilities, and maybe that includes members of the president's cabinet.
Well, I'll take criticism, and I'll have that debate from anyone who is sitting there telling me, though, that, oh, man, look at the people we're leaving behind. That's fair. But you know what? Those same people better not be talking about it while at the same time they were okay with this happening to the Kurds. Because that's
specifically, you're right. The former president wanted to be out in May. So they brought us a summer to kind of get this in line. Well, that's proved to be much too short a time frame. But let's not forget, the former president wanted to be out in May and overruled the generals, negotiated directly with the Taliban. Picture of his Secretary of State with the Taliban leader. They signed this agreement. So this isn't a case where, all this bad stuff happened under Biden. I actually think this has been a bipartisan failure going back to when we went in. George W. Bush took his eye off the ball when we went into Iraq. Barack Obama never did quite figure out what he was trying to do here. And I think Joe Biden came away with the conclusion the generals had their way with President Obama. Donald Trump's leadership was uneven in many areas and in here as well. Joe Biden goes out on a timetable that proves to be catastrophic. This has been bipartisan failure by leadership in the Oval Office, and the present president is a guy that ultimately hosts this debacle because he's the one in office right now.
Congressman, let's ride together again, okay?
Okay. All right, Joel.
Congressman Earl Pomeroy. You can see why we voted for him, folks. When we come back, Matt Fetsch joins us. He's head of the North Dakota High School Activities Association. Are we going to be able to compete under this new Delta virus? Stick around. We'll talk about it right after this.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground. Enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
You know, I'm not going to just say this because he was my boss. He's no longer my boss, so it's okay for me to say it. Matt Fetsch is the boss when it comes to the North Dakota High School Activities Association. I refereed high school ball for, I don't know, about 30-some years. Had a blast doing it. But the High School Activities Association is about as important to many high schoolers and, quite frankly, their parents and the public as you could possibly be. It's a chance for people to excel, not just in sports, but in many, many events. Let's bring them in. Matt Fetsch, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Hey, appreciate being here. Thanks, Joel.
Want to talk to you a little bit about, the fall, because it's kicking in. School's here. People are practicing. Where are we at when it comes to high school athletics? Are people going to be allowed to compete as though it was a normal year?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to describe it. We've been off and running for weeks. We've had girls golf meets going on for a couple weeks. Boys soccer open with matches last weekend, and we have around 35 football games this Friday to get that season started. And this past Monday, our final sports begin practice, so we're officially full throttle here in the fall. And yeah, the plan is move forward as, I don't know if normal is ever going to be a word we use again to describe anything, but moving ahead. And I think if anything, last year our schools, our student athletes, coaches, our administrators prove that if there's ever a need to pivot, they can do it faster than anyone and make it work. So we're hoping we can have as little disruption as possible this fall.
But are we looking at fans in the stands? Are we looking at, things, as I said earlier, normal versus where they were last year?
Yeah, a lot of those decisions will be made locally, but I have not heard from any of our 170 member schools that are planning on any kind of crowd restrictions to start the fall here. And again, with state tournaments, which, believe it or not, end of September will be our first fall state tournament. There are no plans at this time to restrict attendance in any way, shape, or form.
That's interesting because that came very, very fast. The world has changed when it comes to a lot of these scheduling and when kids start in school. Let's back up just the last year, a COVID year. You were still able to have these events. You were still able to do pivot, as you put it. How did we, as a state, accomplish all of that? Was it by individual efforts? Was it by coordination? Do we need leadership to come from top down? Describe to me, if this gets worse with the Delta variant, how we're going to make sure these young men and women still have the opportunity, and what could be, for many of them, their senior year to get this experience.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of the above. And it started with my board of directors making the decision back in July of 2020 that they were going to have championships in everything, no matter what it looked like. If that meant no one was in the stands. After the spring of 2020, it was just something that we were gonna push through, for lack of a better term, and at least have these events. And it turned out, again, I just look back. If I'm ever having a bad day right now, I just look at my calendar. 1 year ago this week, what was I doing and what were we meeting about? And it makes you feel pretty good about where we're at and how much we've learned. And obviously the big difference, a year ago, the vaccine wasn't an option, and it wasn't something that we even knew when it was going to come, if at all, last school year. And I just think overall that puts us alone in a much better position to move forward. And again, with what we've learned, how I read an article the other day, and Todd Olson, one of our athletic directors, was saying, a year ago we were disinfecting volleyballs in between drills because nobody knew. And obviously we're much more knowledgeable. And like I said, if the need is there to pivot, we know it can be done in a matter of very little time.
Do you, as the High School Activities Association, have the ability to force coaches, anyone involved with athletics, to be vaccinated?
It would be a legal battle that is probably tough to win in the position we're in right now. We involve a majority of our participants are minors. So many different applicable laws that cross over and maybe contradict each other. But it's just something that, last year my board was very hands-on with everything, and more so to provide direction for schools, and because we didn't know anything. And this year it's been a lot more hands-off, where a lot of decisions will be made locally. If there's a need to do something more restrictive than others, that's where it'll be handled for the time being.
What about the people that you employ? As I said to start this out, I was an employee of yours. I officiated high school football for years. That means I'm working for you. Do you have the ability, if I'm going to come work for you, to say, look, Joel, you got to get vaccinated or we're not going to put you on the football field with these guys?
Yeah, to my knowledge, we don't. And that, again, is you didn't work for us. You're an independent contractor. So there's a lot of, like I said, the legal jargon and so on. But, for right now, I basically control my office staff and where we're at here. And last spring, we wore masks probably longer than most did here in the office. And I said, once everyone's vaccinated, we won't have to do that anymore. And I guess that was enough incentive for the entire staff to take care of it as soon as possible. So it's just something, again, that's very much locally controlled there. And, I spoke at Coaches Convention back in July, and I geared it more towards giving your team the competitive advantage. And I think that's something the vaccine does. And it's really no different than the influenza vaccine for the last 100 years, where how often you hear about teams sickness running through the team during region basketball tournaments. They may play through it, but they're just not at 100%. And there's so many little things like that that can give a team a competitive advantage. So a lot of them are more internal decisions.
Well, you know, you can say I didn't work for you, but it sure felt like it. The rules came from you. All right, a little bit of time that we have left. How are you sitting for referees? Do you have enough going into the fall schedule?
Yeah, I think with officiating, it's so much dependent on location and on the sport itself, where certain activities we have less than others. I think in all reality, it hasn't changed, where if it's something you're interested in becoming a registered official, you can do it pretty quickly. And in all honesty, you'll be able to work as much or as little as you'd like. And our best recruiters right now are not only our schools, but our officials themselves. They're trying to round out crews and so on. And we're just kind of finishing those processes. We're getting crews finalized here for the regular season. And there's always an opportunity there.
So you're saying that if I heard you right, that if Deutsch and I wanted to dust off the spikes and see if everything still fit, which we know it wouldn't, that we still could get a schedule, is what you're saying.
I think you could block off every Friday if you wanted to for the next 9 weeks and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, then I'd have to go home and lie about how much I got paid again, because I always cut that in half so that she didn't really know what the pay was. Matt, you and your organization, your board of directors, your staff, I've told you this many times, but you are great to work with. And you do a great job in tough circumstances. The emotion of parents and everybody else that can feed into this, it's hard. And doing this during a pandemic, it had to be really hard. So thanks for doing what you do.
Hey, appreciate it. And thanks for all you do for us.
Matt Fetsch, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, some closing comments for you. Yeah, we're going to talk about Afghanistan a little bit more as we continue our trek down the road.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree dental card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree dental card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree dental card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree dental card, you save $525. The Carefree dental card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree dental card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Spas, etc. Yeah.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Maiden Bismarck.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
I told you, and I'm going to tell you again, this is my promise, my pledge to you. For as long as I do down the road, for as long as I have this vehicle or they ask me to do it, I'm going to continue to tell you the truth, regardless of what party is in power. Let me give you a perfect example. There are other hosts that are going to carry that company line, that if the Republicans are in power and I'm a Republican, I'm going to say this and I'm going to back Donald Trump all the way. That's not going to happen on this show. The way that Joe Biden has handled this getting out of Afghanistan has been abysmal. It has. To grab a date was a big mistake in the beginning. I mean, it really was. To sit there and say, look, we're going to do this by a time certain, you're not going to be able to achieve that and make sure you do it the right way. To have the military, the CIA, and everybody else involved and not have them understand that the Taliban can overtake Afghanistan and the government that we set up quickly, well, that's a complete misunderstanding of the circumstances on the ground as well. For over 20 years, we tried to build a democratic society in Afghanistan. 1-800-CALL Russia. It wasn't going to happen. They weren't able to achieve their goals in Afghanistan. We, in the end, weren't able to achieve our goals in Afghanistan. In my personal opinion, the only reason to be in Afghanistan was to go after and find Osama bin Laden. And we didn't need that place to do that. In the end, he was in Pakistan. Remember that? I came out against the Afghan war when we went to war. I got called every name in the book, including traitor. In the end, maybe this is the time for I told you so, but there's a lot of men and women that fought there, and they did it not, well, you got to question whether or not we should have ever put them there. I think the answer is no. Good riding with you, folks.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world.